Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanajari. Yamuna Tira Vanajari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanajari. Yamuna Tira Vanajari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada 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 Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Stotara His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Natakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavadam Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Shri Gangamai Ki Jai Shri Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading from the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the 73rd chapter, and I'll be reading texts 22 and 23. Santanvata prajatantum Sukam dukam bhava bhavo Praptam praptam cha sevanto Machita vicharisyata Santanvanta prajatantum Sukam dukam bhava bhavo Praptam praptam cha sevanto Machita vicharishyata Santanvanta prajatantum Sukam dukam bhava bhavo Praptam praptam cha sevanto Machita vicharishyata Santanvanta prajatantum Sukam dukam bhava bhavo Praptam praptam cha sevanto. Machita vicharishyata. Shantam vantam brajatantun. Sukam dukam bhava bhavo. Praptam praptam cha sevanto. Machita vicharishyata. Santan vanta prajantantun. Sukam dukam bhava bhavo. Praptam praptam cha sevanto. Machita vicharishyata. Satanvanta, generating. Praja, of progeny. Tantun, lines. Sukam, happiness. Dukam, distress. Bhava, birth. Abhavo, then death. Praptam, praptam, as they are encountered. Cha, and. Sevanta, accepting. Machita, with minds fixed on me. Vicharya shata, you should go about. As you live your lives, begetting generations of progeny and encountering happiness and distress, birth and death, always keep your minds fixed on me. Please repeat, as you live your lives, begetting generations of progeny and encountering happiness and distress, birth and death, always keep your minds fixed on me. Is your mouse dead? Oh no. I'm going to read two of the purports on this by the Acharyas, and then also read text 23. Hopefully, yeah, it'll be there. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states about this verse, you should spend your time producing offspring, prajatutan, serving birth and death, bhava, abhava, happiness and distress, which are met with praptam. Jiva Goswami states, increasing generations of population nicely, experiencing happiness and distress with wealth or poverty, being equal in all these conditions with your mind fixed on me, perform the conduct of a householder, vichari shata. And then text 23, let's read together, can you get it? Yeah, okay. Udashinascha dehedav atmarama dritavrata maya veshya manasamvan mamante brahmayashyata. Translation: be detached from the body and everything connected to it. Remaining self-satisfied, steadfastly keep your vows while concentrating your minds fully on me. In this way, you will ultimately attain me, the supreme absolute truth. Om Jnana Tinamandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Namo Vishnu Bidaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shri Mate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavari Paschatya Desatarine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shri Mate Veer Krishna Das Goswaminiti Namine Namaham Sanikashaya Prabhupada Priyayate Sudravaki Nivadine. So Krishna, he was speaking with these kings, and this was just after liberating the kings, and in a couple verses back, he was talking about those who have become grossly bewildered by their material opulences, by their all of their their lives and their riches and their power and their prestige. And he was talking specifically about some demons, and he even mentioned Ravana. So there's of course, we know so many instances of when leaders in the Srimad Bhagavatam, they become puffed up, or I should say, thinking themselves to be the controller is literally what that means, puffed up. And that's happened numerous times, even with, persons like Indra, etc. Jarasandha, for that matter. He didn't really mention him, but, we're seeing on the heels of the killing of Jarasandha, Jarasandha was extremely intoxicated with his power, prestige. He had defeated Krishna 17 times. So he was puffed up enough to capture all of the kings that were also very puffed up, because it seems like he was a little bit envious of the king's power and prestige, which is how it goes with demonic thinking. If you see something that you want to, smash it because you can't have it and neither can the other person. That's kind of the general psychology of that type of thinking. If you can't have it, you don't want anybody else to have it, whatever it is. So that's how that goes in the thinking of the demonic sort of thinking, or I'll say the straying from Krishna way of thinking. So Krishna's giving the kings, before we'll see in the next few verses, he kind of, after giving them this is their stern talking to, they're kind of, giving them their lesson. He'll, take them out of captivity, he'll bring them up, he'll treat them very nicely so they can get themselves back on track. But we know, even dealing with, particularly with, I'll say children, sometimes children, make a decision that they might regret. They do something, they act out in a certain way, and then they feel remorseful, and then, the parent or caregiver must talk to them a little bit about, that's what's called a teaching moment. They can talk to them a little bit about what they did and maybe investigate why, and have them explore their own thinking and feeling about the situation. So Krishna had the teaching moment here with the kings, and it's also there for us, because these two verses, for those of us who are practicing bhakti, are the sum and substance of living our lives, just basic living of life, because he's kind of unplugging the emotional or the being in bewilderment because of being intoxicated with pride, with power, like that. He's diffusing that here. And when he's talking about, it's just he's giving a very broad instruction as you live your lives, and we're all doing this, living our lives, begetting progeny, encountering happiness and distress, sukha dukkha, the material nature of this world, birth and death. Keep your minds fixed on me. And, we know that that's a little difficult, right? We know that as we live our lives, and we have family, we have duties, we have friends, we have occupation, we have, many have children that have all their extension of what they do each day, then, the parents assume that life of the children. It's difficult. It's actually very difficult to keep the mind fixed on Krishna. And then in the next verse, this is even I'll say, more difficult for the conditioned soul, be detached from the body and everything connected to it. So first of all, being detached from the body means we are not this body. And that's always, like there's some disconnect. We know that we're not this body, but many times it's hard to bifurcate, that we're not this body, just practically with our discrimination and intelligence versus the body, which is clamoring for so much and, so many needs, especially as I'm going to say, maybe not as one gets older, but just generally, the body needs so much maintenance and so much care, and and the more you care for something, the more you pay attention to something, then of course you're going to think about it more, right? And then everything connected to it means all of the, the upadis that, we all have, or we all think we have, is a better way, whether they're old or young. That's one that I see a lot with the upadis, Age is nothing but a number. I mean, we see a lot of older personalities who are extremely good condition, and they're not thinking that much about their, their condition or conditions if they have, old or young, man or woman, all of the different races, all of the different religions, there's a big, I'll say more than maybe I've ever experienced in my lifetime. There seems to be a huge upadis attached to where someone stands in religion, particularly right now in the world, many many angles of vision or many perspectives say it's a spiritual warfare, because the spiritual way of life is a personal practice, and generally those that grew up a certain way, they might practice that way, or they'll defect and they'll start to practice another way. Last night there was some persons here that it's an interesting family where I'm not sure what the father is, but the agnostic, maybe? Nothing. So he's agnostic. And then there's one person who's aspiring Hare Krishna, and then there's one brother who's Jewish, or, who just took that up, who, and then there's a sister that's a Bible thumper, born-again Christian, to a fanatic extreme, who harasses probably both. I don't know about the one. But, so these religious upadis, or these spiritual upadis. So there's so many upadis that people develop, from their upbringing, from their exposure, school, we see in schools, there's such an emphasis, public school system, such an emphasis on athletics, particularly athletics, they want to cram athletics down. I was talking to a builder over here that's working on our place, and he's 27, but he was telling me the other day that he's already had 2 ACL tears and, several concussions and a broken, ankle and all these things. He's only 27. He had all these things before he even graduated from high school, because he was playing football, because they're so into these sports, and then at the detriment of the body, So he was complaining about all of he's only 27. He's already complaining about his terrible bodily condition. So it's interesting how people get really, really, they just get stuck. They get so stuck in these upadis. They can't get out. They can't release their mind. They can't free think about what's real, what's practical, discrimination is generally poor. And of course, we know that many have a poor fund of knowledge, particularly in the way of self-realization and God consciousness. And there's quite a lot about divesting yourself from that sort of thinking. Krishna's saying, live your lives. You'll see all these things happen, but just keep thinking about me. Don't think about your body or things that are connected. You can live your life, but just keep thinking about me. Pull the mind back. Keep pulling the mind back. You have to meditate on me. When you perfect he says, let me get to this again. Remain self-satisfied. Keep your vows steadfastly while concentrating your minds fully on me. In this way, you will ultimately attain me, the supreme absolute truth. Everybody's looking for the truth, but practically there's no way that they can know the truth. They don't have the knowledge, they don't have the intelligence, they don't have discrimination, they don't have the information to know the truth at this point. Fortunately, we can help everybody in that way with this process of bhakti yoga. And Prabhupada, Prabhupada so many times, there's thousands of references about fixing the mind on Krishna. He says it all the time, just fix the mind on Krishna, just fix the mind on Krishna, right? So practically speaking, how do we do that? And we have all the methods here, and Prabhupada actually mentions several times that the main two methods are to control the tongue. Now that seems sort of, okay, if we're going to fix the mind, what does controlling the tongue have to do with fixing the mind? Well, first of all, if you are chanting, we have to fix the mind on chanting, and then that one thing is obviously going to help, because chanting is everything. Chanting is, the great equalizer, it's the great destroyer of so many things, it's the great uplifter, it's the great, purifier, the greatest soothing balm on all of the, the hurts that we have encountered over many lifetimes, that are, sitting on our soul, that sometimes come up in the form of anarthas. The Maha Mantra, it's the most powerful mantra that we can take up, so we can actually start to control the tongue. But then the second part of that tongue control, particularly, is to only eat Krishna prasadam. Very, very, very important. I don't think that this importance can be underestimated. I'm scared to eat anything except for Krishna prasadam, because sometimes when I encounter persons that are evidently not eating Krishna prasadam, and I'm going to say there's different signs and symptoms of that, the mind becomes wicked. It's just that simple. It's 100% true. And if you do eat Krishna prasadam all the time, and you do that experiment, you eat one thing that's not Krishna prasadam, it's almost like it's immediate transformation, because in the mind, since you've trained the mind up to only eat Krishna prasadam, you know that it's not, and it wasn't offered to Krishna. And for me, I'll just say I don't eat, at least I haven't in a long time, but sometimes if there was an occasion where I would be expected to eat non-Krishna prasadam, I'll say, then, you can feel the difference. You can actually think immediately, at least I would think, where did this come from? Who cooked it? Even when you're thinking about prasadam itself, it's offered to the deities, and, that's the qualifier. But, I want to know who cooked it. I want to know who cooked. I want to know what their mindset is. I want to know how focused they are, personally. So if you're not eating Krishna prasadam and you're eating something that's made by a machine, or even worse, practically, is cooked by a non-devotee, maybe a meat eater, whatever, the difference is immediate. And I've actually seen that with other persons, So those two things, chanting Hare Krishna regularly and often, and trying to chant, obviously, purely, that's an ongoing, and taking Krishna prasadam. That's your main sense. It said if you control the tongue, one that controls the tongue can control all the other senses. Mind, belly, genitals, all the other senses, if you control the tongue. And I'm going to just read something that Prabhupada expounded on in a class about what Srila Rupa Goswami talks about with fixing your mind on Krishna. Because this, fix your mind on Krishna, fixing your mind on the lotus feet of Krishna, it's mentioned literally so many times throughout our scripture, by the purports of Srila Prabhupada. And, the more we hear about how to fix the mind on Krishna, should be the easier that it becomes, Srila Rupa Goswami writes, Yena tena prakarena mana Krishne niveshayet. Some way or other, fix your mind on Krishna. Then your life is successful. Some way or other. Yena tena. If your mind is always fixed on Krishna, then your senses will also be engaged in Krishna's service, because mind is the center of all activities of the senses. So as soon as you start to, some way or other, fix yourself on Krishna, fix your mind on Krishna, then Krishna allows you to take up some devotional service for him. Ambarish Maharaj, first of all, engaged his mind in Krishna. Savai mana Krishna pararo vendayo. By first fixing his mind upon Krishna, he could then engage all the other senses in Krishna, beginning with the tongue. Bhakti begins with the tongue. That is the statement in the Shastras, the Vedic scriptures. Ata Shri Krishna namadi na bhaved grahyam indraya sevan mukhe hi jivado swayam epa suriyada. Material senses cannot appreciate Krishna's holy name, form, qualities, and pastimes. When a conditioned soul is awakened to Krishna consciousness and renders service by using his tongue to chant the Lord's holy name and taste the remnants of the Lord's food, the tongue is purified and one gradually comes to understand who Krishna really is. So even with those two things, the chanting and eating only Krishna prasadam, which is literally, Krishna prasadam is the mercy of Krishna. Those items have been offered to the Lord, accepted by the Lord, and then given back as his mercy. Our present blunt material covered senses cannot taste Krishna's name, Krishna's form, Krishna's qualities, Krishna's pastimes, or Krishna's paraphernalia. A person suffering from liver disease or jaundice cannot taste sugar candy. The sugar candy is sweet, but to a jaundice patient it will taste bitter. We know when we go out on Harinam, or we go out on book distribution, or we go out in different circumstances to try to speak to those jaundiced persons who we can literally see walking around. They look jaundiced. They're ashen, kind of yellow. They look bewildered. They're covered over, and we're trying to help them. What do they say? No, I'm okay. No, that's okay. I don't need that book. No, I don't, they don't listen to the chanting, or they put in their headphones. Similarly, our senses are being covered with material consciousness. We cannot at the present moment take Krishna's form, name, qualities, pastimes, paraphernalia, and so many things. It is not possible. It's not possible, so you can't really, You can't really hate on people that say, oh no, I'm okay. They can't understand, particularly if they're eating non-Krishna prasadam, which everybody is, and particularly if they're eating meat. Then it's like there's blinders on, because if you're eating animal flesh, it's almost like Yogamaya. You can't really lift the curtain of Yogamaya until one gets that first morsel of Krishna prasad. Then, when that goes in, just one little bit, then everything, like the light bulb starts to, flicker a little bit and come on. Our senses are materially contaminated, therefore we cannot directly perceive Krishna using our present senses. They must be purified. When your eyes are suffering from cataracts, you cannot see properly. But if the cataracts are removed by a surgical operation, then the eyes become purified and you can see. Similarly, the Brahma Samhita states, Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santa sadaiva hridayeshu vilokanyanti yam shama sundaram ajintya guna swarupam Govinda Mari Purusham Dhamam Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Shama Sundara, Krishna himself, with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts, with the eyes of devotion, tinged with the salve of love. Bless you. Prema Jana Churita. You have to collect the ointment of love for Krishna. And if you apply that ointment to your eyes, you'll see Krishna. This is the process. What's that ointment? That ointment is Krishna Prasadam. That ointment is particularly chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Also associating with devotees. Void of all of those, the chanting and the Krishna Prasadam, the devotees have all of these things inside of them. They have this premanjana churita to some extent, right? Or we wouldn't be here. So you can help others get a little bit of this ointment of the salve of love. You can help them. Even if you haven't given them a morsel of prasadam or the holy name yet, they can be helped just by the association of the devotee. And the devotee speaking to just little bits, that association, a moment's association with devotee starts to impart from that little bit of ointment, it starts to impart some measure of knowledge on somebody, especially if you're seeing somebody regularly. Now there's these gentlemen that work at Braxton Tire up the road. And I've been taking my cars there for years, and they're very nice gentlemen, and they've been there a long time, all the same guys. They have one new guy, maybe from last year, that showed up, a younger guy, but they're all the same guys. And now, after having, every time I go pick up the car after an oil change, I'll bring them a cookies or whatever the sweet of the day is. If it's on a Monday, maybe it's scones or maybe it's the cinnamon rolls. I've brought them that before. One time I brought in a container of cinnamon rolls and just opened up the thing, and then, the smell comes out. Everybody went wild, So even just little bit of the devotee attempting to help, a little bit goes a long way. Now these guys, when they see me come in, the other day I bought them, somebody made mac and cheese, and, mac and cheese. But, if you present it nicely, and the man was just, he lit up, his face lit up. He's never heard the Maha Mantra yet. But, the steady diet of prasadam and seeing a devotee, it's like the Pavlov's dog effect. Prasadam comes, or the devotee comes, and then immediately they think, oh, maybe I'll have some nice, eatable today. So that's the beginning. And then freeing yourself from upadis. The sum and substance of designations is the material body. I am this body. I am Hindu. I am Muslim. I am American. I am Indian. All these are designations of the body. One has to become free from the contamination of the bodily concept of life. When our spiritual body becomes revealed, the material body, that contamination is washed off, nirmalam, and then at that time the senses remain. Our senses are now covered by the material energies. The living entity is not nirakara, formless. The living entity has spiritual hands, legs, everything. For example, my body is covered by the shirt because I have arms. The shirt has arms. Unless the spirit soul has hands and legs, how have we got these material hands and legs? That's a very good point. You know, how do we have these things? We have them to use, obviously, in Krishna service by, was it King? I forgot what king it was, but he said he wanted to, King Parikshit maybe, use the eyes to see the form of the Lord, the nose to smell the flowers of the offered flower, Ambarish Maharaj, the flowers offered to the Lord. Use the legs to walk to the temple to see the Lord, and the hands to serve. So all these things, they're meant for us to use to serve the Lord. And so we have to remember when we're in this service, because I think many times as servants of the Lord, we might take it for granted, but I'm going to stress it again. I keep saying this in classes because somehow for me it's really come alive that devotees are such a small minority, such a small slice of the whole population of the planet. The whole population of the planet is like 8.5 billion. Maybe those that know Krishna, maybe a million. And if you divide that, do the math. It's very minuscule portion, especially when we're divided by so many other land masses and oceans. We go to India, of course, we're going to see a huge concentration of persons that know about Krishna. Meanwhile, here in Nirvishesha Sunyavadi land, America, where Prabhupada chose to come and enlighten, then that's very, very even less, very, very less that we have a chance to make a difference in someone's life, in one of the conditioned souls' life. And so that's why it's so uber important that we try to reach out in whatever little way we can. And meanwhile, keeping ourselves very fixed upon the lotus feet of the Lord through pure chanting, through pure prasadam intake, and sadhu sangha, and of course this practice of sadhana bhakti that we have that's so dear, the coming in and mangalarti, worshipping the Guru, Tulsi Puja, all of the mainstays. Those are our foundation. That's our foundation. We get our strength from that. Then to go out and try to give little bits to others, we have that power. So let's just remember that in our day today and this week. Try to reach somebody in a positive way. Jai, Hare Krishna. Dear Krishna Goswami Ki Jai. Welcome back. Haribo.
Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Vikamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakale Kriya Priti Manti Vasyanti Panti Kayanti Jiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Putale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Samaniki Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Vacha Nege Nivesesha Shunyapari Masyachagade Sacharade Jai Shri Krishna Jai Dana Prabhu Nityananda Jidvaita Ganada Siva Sari Normat Brenda Shri Krishna Nana Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Radha Siva Sari Normat Brenda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Brahmanityananda Shinoeta Radha Sivasade Gaurata Brenda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Sri Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Naganokinana Rate. Naganokinana Rate. Hey, Jai Om Vishnu.
We'd like to welcome back His Holiness Bir Krishna Maharaj Ki Jai, back home, back to New Goloka. Chaitodarpanam Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairavya Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipanam Pranamrita Swadanam Sarvatmasnapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapitani Amita Smarane Nakala Etadrishita Vakriba Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishami Hajjanina Anuraga Trinada pi sunichena, torora pi suhishuna, amanina manadena, kirtaniya sadahari, nadanam najanam nasundarim, kavitam vajagadisha kamaye, mama janmani janmani ishvare, bhavatad bhaktir ahoita ki twai, ainanda tanuja kinkaram, patitam mam vishame bhavam buddha, Kripayata Vabada Pankaja Stita Duli Sajashim Vachintaya Nayanam Gadashu Daraya Vadanam Gad Gadudaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vapukada Tavanamagrahame Vishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahena me Ashlishyavapadamritam anastumam Adarshanam marmahatakarotuva Yatatatava vidadatulam mat prananatastusa eva napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays. Thank you very much. It's the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Oh, my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you've invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh, my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking himself lower than a straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. May Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? And when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Shri Shastra Ki Jai.